Picture this. You're standing in an empty field, looking at an open horizon. There is no building, no blueprint in your hands, no physical evidence that anything would arise from this patch of earth. And yet, something in you imagines a structure. You see walls that have not been built. You sense purpose in a place where nothing yet exists. You feel drawn toward a possibility that nobody else can see. This moment, the moment in which your mind begins to hold something real that your senses cannot yet detect, is the psychological essence of Hebrews 11:1. Now, faith is confidence in what we hope for, and assurance about what we do not see. In spiritual language, this verse describes faith. In psychological language, it describes the architecture of human motivation, imagination, and belief. For thousands of years, theologians reflected on faith as a spiritual force. But what if we look at it from a psychological and philosophical perspective? What if we ask, what do great thinkers say about believing in something before it exists? Why does the human brain respond so powerfully to hope and vision? What does assurance of things not seen mean from the viewpoint of cognition? And how does faith, properly understood, shape identity, action, resilience, and meaning? Today, we are diving deep into the psychological interpretation of Hebrews 11:1, guided by insights from some of history's greatest minds. This is not a sermon. It is a journey into the mechanics of belief, a journey into why humans are able to imagine unseen realities, and why this ability may be the most defining feature of our species. Let's begin. Section 1. The psychological definition of faith. Before theology defined faith, psychology observed it. Faith, from a psychological viewpoint, is a cognitive commitment to a desired future, an emotional alignment with something not yet real, a guiding image powerful enough to affect behavior in the present, a mental framework that shapes perception, motivation, and endurance. Hebrews 11:1 describes faith as two things: confidence in what we hope for, assurance about what we do not see. These two components map almost perfectly onto two major psychological functions: motivation, confidence in what we hope for; imagination, cognitive framing, assurance about what we do not see. Let's break them down. 1. Confidence in what we hope for. The psychology of expectation. Hope is not wishful thinking. Psychologists define hope as the belief that a desired outcome is possible, combined with the belief that one has the ability or pathways to achieve it. This aligns with the work of Charles Snyder, the father of hope theory, who showed that hope is not passive. It is a strategy-based mindset. Snyder found that hopeful people set clearer goals, develop better plans, persist longer, are more resilient under stress. If Hebrews 11:1 stopped at confidence in what we hope for, it would already reflect 2 millennia of psychological insight. But then it adds a second dimension. 2. Assurance about what we do not see, the psychology of the unseen. Human beings are uniquely capable of picturing worlds that do not exist yet. This ability shapes our choices, directs our energy, influences our emotions, forms our identity, and constructs our sense of meaning. In cognitive psychology, this is called mental simulation, the brain's ability to see events before they occur. Athletes use it, entrepreneurs use it, inventors depend on it, survivors of trauma rely on it. Hebrews 11:1 names this mental phenomenon assurance of what is not seen. It is the psychological foundation of goals, dreams, creativity, resilience, and transformation. And now that we understand faith in psychological terms, let's explore how history's great thinkers, philosophers, psychologists, and spiritual observers interpreted this invisible force long before modern science had words for it. One of the greatest philosophical psychologists, William James, argued that human beings often must act before they have evidence. He wrote, "Faith in a fact can help create the fact." In other words, belief shapes reality when belief motivates action. This resonates intimately with Hebrews 11:1. James explained that in many of life's most important decisions, waiting for proof is impossible. You cannot have evidence your life's purpose is meaningful before you pursue it. You cannot know a relationship will work before you invest in it. You cannot know a dream is possible until you act on it. Thus, faith is not irrational, it is pragmatic. It is the mind's way of choosing a direction in the absence of certainty. James believed that humans are constantly faced with genuine options that require not passive observation, but commitment. To stand still is to decide against possibility. To act is to embrace uncertainty with purpose. This psychological insight echoes Hebrews 11:1's claim that faith is a foundation, not a reaction, but a starting point. Carl Jung believed that much of what guides human behavior lies beneath the threshold of conscious awareness. He wrote extensively about symbols, archetypes, and the unseen forces within the psyche. To Jung, what we do not see is not merely external, it is internal. Jung suggested that our unconscious is full of not yet seen potentials. The future self already exists as an image within the psyche. Faith is the bridge between our present identity and our latent possibilities. He famously said, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your own heart." This means that assurance of things unseen includes unseen capacities, unseen strengths, unseen meanings, unseen paths, unseen aspects of the self waiting to emerge. Faith psychologically becomes the certainty that your inner potential is real, even before external evidence appears. Thus, Hebrews 11:1 aligns strongly with Jung's idea that the psyche contains unrealized realities that guide us forward. No psychological interpretation of faith is complete without Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor and founder of logotherapy. Frankl observed that humans survive suffering not through pleasure, not through power, but through meaning. A meaning often invisible, intangible, not yet realized. He wrote, "Those who have a why to live can bear almost any how." This why is precisely confidence in what we hope for, assurance of what we do not see. Frankl described prisoners who survived Auschwitz because they believed there was still a purpose waiting for them. A child to raise, a book to write, a discovery to make, a loved one to reunite with. These purposes did not yet exist in the physical world, but psychologically, they were as real as any stone wall or iron gate. Frankl discovered that when a person holds a vision of a future meaningful life, even if unseen, the mind reorganizes itself for survival. the invisible becomes more powerful than the visible. This is the psychological heart of Hebrews 11:1. Faith sustains us not because we can see the future, but because the future calls to us through the unseen dimension of meaning. Nietzsche is rarely associated with biblical interpretation, yet his psychological insights into belief are strikingly parallel to Hebrews 11:1. Nietzsche believed that the human being is always becoming, always reaching toward a future self. He said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how," a statement so powerful that Viktor Frankl adopted it in his own philosophy. Nietzsche argued that humans are creators of meaning. The future is shaped by the strength of one's inner vision. Faith, whether religious or personal, is an expression of the will to become something greater. For Nietzsche, assurance of things unseen is the self's ability to imagine a higher version of itself, commit to that vision, transform reality through disciplined action. This is not theological faith, but psychological faith. It is the conviction I can become more than I am. Nietzsche believed that without this inner assurance, a person collapses into nihilism, hopelessness, despair, and stagnation. Thus, even a philosopher often positioned against religion affirms the psychological necessity of something like faith. James Allen, author of As a Man Thinketh, offered one of the clearest psychological interpretations of faith. He wrote, "The dreamers are the saviors of the world." For Allen, the unseen world of thought creates the seen world of circumstance. This is not magical thinking, it's psychological law. Thoughts shape attitudes, attitudes shape behavior, behavior shapes outcomes. Therefore, confidence in what we hope for equals the thought assurance of what we do not see equals the belief. The resulting life equals the outcome. Allen framed faith as the seed that grows into the tree of destiny. Where Hebrews 11:1 speaks of unseen realities, Allen speaks of thoughts and ideals forming the invisible currents of power. From a psychological perspective, both say the same thing. The mind creates a world before the world creates itself. Let's bring everything into contemporary science. Modern neuroscience has discovered the brain does not distinguish sharply between imagination and reality. Imagining a future event activates similar neural pathways as experiencing it. Visioning changes behavior by altering emotional and cognitive frameworks. What we believe influences how we interpret sensory information. Hope alters stress responses, immune function, and decision-making. Thus, faith literally rewires the brain. The assurance of what we do not see becomes, neurologically, the creation of internal maps that guide behavior even before physical evidence appears. This means Hebrews 11:1 describes not only a spiritual truth, but also a biological mechanism. Faith is embodied cognition. Your brain holds unseen realities and uses them to navigate the world. And now we see clearly that the ancient biblical writer captured a psychological truth thousands of years before science confirmed it. We must make an important distinction. Faith is not wishful thinking. Faith is not blind optimism. Faith is not denial of reality. Psychologically, faith is grounded hope, purposeful belief, vision tied to action, meaning tied to resilience, the ability to imagine possibilities and commit to them. Wishful thinking is passive. Faith is active. Wishful thinking waits for things to happen. Faith organizes the mind to make things happen. Wishful thinking avoids reality. Faith confronts reality with an empowered mindset. Thus, the psychological definition of faith is the disciplined practice of holding a meaningful future in the mind and acting in alignment with it. This aligns with every philosopher and psychologist we've explored. Humans live not only in the present, but also in the story they tell themselves about who they are becoming. Identity is not fixed, it is a project. Psychologists call this the narrative self. Faith, in this context, becomes the internal story that guides your choices, shapes your self-concept, determines what you believe is possible. When Hebrews speaks of assurance of things not seen, one of those unseen things is the person you are capable of becoming. Your ideal self is invisible. Your potential is invisible. Your strengths are often invisible, even to you. Faith is the psychological bridge that allows you to grow into what you do not yet see. Carl Rogers, founder of humanistic psychology, once said, "The curious paradox is that when I accept myself as I am, then I can change." This acceptance is the foundation. Faith is the expansion. To change is to believe that change is possible. To grow is to believe that growth is real. To become is to believe in the unseen version of yourself. Thus, faith is not only about God, it is about identity, psychology, and transformation. When life collapses, when we lose, fail, grieve, or suffer, faith becomes psychologically essential. Why? Because suffering narrows vision. Pain makes the world appear small. Fear blinds us to possibility. Faith restores the larger picture. It reopens the future. It reconnects us with meaning. Every major psychological theory of resilience includes a belief in a meaningful future, a sense of purpose, the ability to see beyond the present pain. This is Hebrews 11:1 again. Confidence in what we hope for, assurance of what we do not see. Faith doesn't make suffering disappear. It gives suffering context. It is the psychological oxygen of endurance. Belief is not passive. Belief is behavioral. Psychologists have discovered that what you believe about yourself predicts how hard you try. What you believe about the world predicts how you interpret events. What you believe about the future predicts how long you persist. This is known as self-efficacy. When you believe a goal is achievable, even if not yet visible, the mind adjusts. Optimism increases, fear decreases, focus sharpens, actions align, creativity expands. Faith is a cognitive emotional state that improves performance. Thus, Hebrews 11:1 does not describe a mystical abstraction. It describes a psychological principle. Belief about the invisible shapes behavior in the visible world. Faith is the mental model through which action becomes possible. Humans have built civilizations on this principle. Think of the great achievements of history. the abolition of slavery, the invention of the airplane, the civil rights movement, the creation of democracy, the exploration of space, the development of medicine, all began as unseen realities, visions held in the minds of individuals who had confidence in what they hoped for and assurance about what they could not yet see. Faith created inventions, movements, revolutions, philosophies, breakthroughs, cultures. Faith is the psychological engine of progress. Without it, humanity would still be in caves. We must acknowledge that not all faith is healthy. Psychologists warn that belief can distort perception, reinforce harmful behaviors, create rigid ideologies, fuel fanaticism, justify dangerous actions. The difference between healthy faith and destructive belief is: healthy faith is open, flexible, growth-oriented, and grounded in meaning. Unhealthy belief is rigid, closed, fear-based, and resistant to evidence. Thus, Hebrews 11:1 must be interpreted psychologically as a disciplined, purposeful confidence, not arrogance, not delusion, but grounded inner vision. Great thinkers from Kierkegaard to Jung emphasize that faith must coexist with humility, reflection, and responsibility. Let's build a modern psychological model of Hebrews 11:1. Faith consists of 4 components. 1. Vision, the unseen. A clear, emotionally meaningful picture of a future possibility. 2. Motivation, confidence in what we hope for. A felt sense that the desired future is worth pursuing. 3. Identity, alignment with the vision. The belief that I am the kind of person who can do this. 4. Action, behavior shaped by belief. Choices and habits that bring the unseen into reality. This model transforms faith from a mystical concept into a psychological process. Faith, vision, identity, action, transformation. This is how human beings create meaning. This is how they grow. This is how they endure. This is how they build the future. After analyzing philosophers and psychologists across time, we can summarize. What Hebrews 11:1 describes is not exclusive to religion. It is universal. Every human being lives by faith in some form. Faith in a goal, faith in a purpose, faith in love, faith in healing, faith in justice, faith in one's own abilities, faith in the meaning of life. Even nihilism is a kind of inverted faith, a belief that nothing matters. Humans cannot escape belief. The mind is wired to project into the future. We are creatures of vision. Thus, Hebrews 11:1 is not merely a verse, it is a psychological truth. The future is built in the mind before it is built in the world. Faith is the workshop of the unseen. Here's how someone can apply these insights to their life. 1. Define what you hope for. Specificity creates clarity. Clarity creates motivation. 2. Visualize the unseen. Picture the future vividly and repeatedly. 3. Let the vision shape your identity. Ask, who must I become to realize this? 4. Act as if the unseen is real. Behavior is the bridge between today and tomorrow. 5. Rewrite limiting beliefs. Replace I can't with I am becoming able. 6. Anchor yourself in meaning. Purpose fuels perseverance. 7. Accept uncertainty while moving forward. Faith requires courage, not certainty. 8. Use community. Faith grows stronger when shared. 9. Stay open to new understanding. Faith is living, evolving, reflective. 10. Celebrate progress. Evidence reinforces confidence. Through these practices, Hebrews 11:1 becomes not only an inspiring verse, but a practical life strategy. Let's return to that field from the beginning. Open, empty, waiting. Every dream begins in such a field. Every breakthrough begins in unseen soil. Every transformation begins with a vision invisible to others. And Hebrews 11:1 whispers the ancient psychological truth. What you cannot see yet can become the most real thing in your life. Your confidence shapes your path. Your hope shapes your mind. Your unseen vision shapes your destiny. The philosophers saw it. The psychologists proved it. The scriptures expressed it. Faith, understood psychologically, is the human ability to imagine, believe, commit, endure, create, and transform. It is the inner light that guides us through uncertainty. It is the engine of meaning. It is the birthplace of human possibility. So the next time you hold a dream in your heart, something nobody else can see, remember, you are practicing Hebrews 11:1. You are stepping into the lineage of minds who shaped history. You are exercising the unseen muscle that builds a life. And the invisible vision within you may one day become the most visible reality you ever create.